way sometimes, and I'm sick and tired of fixing it. Not like it has any significance or anything. Actually, you know, I type all kinds of words generally come up, and at some point I'm just going to leave it the way that it is, because sometimes that's also really funny. But so Possibility Friday, yeah. So throwing this out, I just had an amazing conversation with a bunch of really amazing people, and just want to throw out something. That regardless of what happens in the United States on election day, I will remain hopeful. And I will be here to support that hope for folks in the context of life. If you want to keep coming back and getting support for that hopefulness, and I'm going to tell you what I mean by hopeful. What I mean by hopeful, because hope, I don't mean this hope, this ambiguous, everything's going to turn out okay kind of thing. That's not what I'm talking about at all. What I'm talking about is this my experience of this reservoir of possibilities that exists in each and every person that I meet, and regardless of their perspective or their beliefs, where they're coming from, this reservoir of possibility, which becomes manifest through this thing that I talk about all the time called the absent but implicit, that ultimately kind of links us together. And that I have not yet ever seen any evidence that reservoir of possibilities doesn't exist in each and every person who is out there. And I've talked to a lot of people, and I actually spent a fair amount of time earlier in my youngsterness looking for people who did not have this reservoir of possibilities, and literally at the time looking for what I was describing as evil, and looked and looked and looked in all the places where it was supposed to be and never found it. Now, I'm not talking about, don't mean to subjugate you or talk about your experience. If evil is an idea that's really important to you, that is fine. But for me, looking for what I believed it was unable to find it. And what I continued to come up against was, once again, this reservoir of possibilities that exists in people in the context of what we're capable of, and kind of a reconnecting to what we can be as a species, as a community, as a global kind of participant in this amazing thing that we call this Earth. And somebody was talking last week about how what we're really, really good at is creating community. And I believe we are still really good at creating community. And I believe that we are absolutely compelled by the possibility of creating community, which is why there's 2 billion members on Facebook and blah, 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 and all the social media stuff that people are so drawn into these platforms, because it creates this illusion of community. And if it didn't, I don't think people would be interested in it. And it's not that Facebook is good, because it totally is not. And maybe I'll start talking about that at some point. But social media, that it's good, totally is not. However, it's not about that. It's about why people are engaged in it, why people are interested in it, and why people, you know, we as a species have done some things that are totally not awesome. But, you know, you take this absent but implicit perspective in relation to things, and you start to go, that was a really, really bad choice. But boy, the stuff that's behind it. And actually, part of this conversation I just had was really cool, because we were kind of going back and forth with one of the folks about a conversation. And it's wild that this conversation, even though it was really productive, it was only like 2 questions into a conversation. And one of my friends used to talk about being 5 questions in. And so if you're 2 questions in, it's already kind of cool. Imagine what 5 questions would be. And maybe at some point, you know, I actually might do this tomorrow. I'll talk a little bit more about the specific questions, the kinds of questions that are useful, and also about the context of the questions that predominantly you want it to be a conversation. But anyway, so that's enough for today about possibilities. Lots of possibilities. Most important message for today is, regardless of what happens next Tuesday, I'm going to be in a place of possibilities. And so if you want to kindle that fire of possibilities under you, then keep watching. I'll be back tomorrow. Hope everyone's having a great day. What's next, Dr. Joel?